Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be going over the MLB slate on DraftKings for Friday, May 11th. We have 14 games tonight. Like always on Fridays, we've got a loaded slate with a ton of pitching options. Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander, Chris Sale, Trevor Bauer, Kenta Maeda, just a few of the stud pitchers on this slate. 4 of those 5 are over 10K, so we're definitely going to want to consider paying up for pitcher today, especially with all the studs available. Do have some cheap pitchers as well that I like. We got some value guys that are like in the 7K, 6K range that I think we can pair with our stud pitcher today and still fit in decent bats. There aren't a ton of like expensive stacks I want to go to. A lot of the teams I like today, just to stack, do have some good value in their lineup, and that's kind of how I'm approaching this slate. But before we do get started looking at pitcher and batters for today, guys, make sure you drop a like on the video. I would really appreciate it. And if you are new to the channel and you have not clicked that subscribe button yet, make sure you subscribe down below so that way you won't miss out on any of my new videos. But yeah, looking at our pitchers, 10K and above on this slate, we have 4 of them. Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander, Chris Sale, and Trevor Bauer. Just talking about these stud pitchers, I do like 3 of these 4. I like Scherzer, Verlander, and Sale. Trevor Bauer, I don't think I'm very interested in here. I like the matchup with KC, but that price tag, $11,300, I don't really see myself paying that price tag for Bauer, especially when I can just get Sale, Verlander, or Scherzer for a little bit more salary. So looking at those 3 guys, the top 3, Max Scherzer I would say is probably my favorite here at $13,300. I like this matchup with the Diamondbacks. This is definitely a matchup where Max Scherzer can rack up some strikeouts. The Diamondbacks do have strikeouts in their lineup, pretty much from top to bottom. A lot of these guys strike out. Obviously, Max Scherzer can get strikeouts no matter who he's going up against. I feel like guys like Marte, Avila, Ahmed, the pitcher, obviously even Souza, these guys are pretty much going to be free Ks. Even though Pollock's been hitting the ball really well, definitely a guy that has an increased K rate versus righties. Goldschmidt's kind of been pretty disappointing this year, hasn't been hitting the ball that well. When Daniel Descalso's projected about second, that should just tell you that Scherzer should be able to dominate this lineup when you have Descalso batting second. So I love Scherzer here. 13-3. I don't think you can really go wrong with any of the top 3 options. I think Verlander versus the Rangers is a great play as well. The Rangers, another team that strikes out a lot. Chris Sale has a decreased price, so that does make me like him here. He's $12,400. Do get a little bit of savings if you go down to him. He's facing the Blue Jays. Chris Sale has faced the Blue Jays once this year. He didn't have that great of a game, only put up 15 DraftKings points. But Sale is coming off a dominating performance against the Rangers where he pitched 7 innings, only allowed 1 run, had 12 strikeouts. Kind of saw the Chris Sale that we saw from last year that was racking up 10-plus Ks, it seemed like every night, or at least every night that he was pitching. So I do like Sale, I do like Verlander, but I think Scherzer is my favorite of the stud pitchers. Then SP2 options, I think there are a lot of SP2 options today. I think Jake Arrieta against the Mets could definitely be a play. Luke Weaver against the Padres. Jameson Taillon against the Giants, only $7,300. I really like. But the guy that I feel like is good value today is Sonny Gray, $6,700 versus the Athletics. A little bit of a revenge game here. Gray going to be facing his former team. Not really sure if that has an effect on him, but it is a revenge game for Gray. He's dirt cheap here at $6,700. This is an Oakland team that has been hitting the ball pretty well this year, but definitely still has some strikeouts in their lineup. If we look at the projected lineup for the Athletics, obviously guys like Joyce, Lowry aren't heavy K guys, but Chris Davis, Chapman, Olsen, they added Dustin Fowler, Jonathan Lucroy, not a heavy K guy, but Chad Pinder versus a righty will strike out a lot. Gray might be sort of a risky play here, but I think he definitely has upside. He's coming off a solid performance against Cleveland, where he did pitch 6 innings, allowed 2 runs, had 7 strikeouts, 23.9 DK points. Gray's been up and down this year. Definitely risky play. I feel like 17, 15 DK points first 2 games. Then against Boston and Toronto, -5, -7. Only put up 5 against Minnesota. 13 against Houston. Last game against Cleveland, 23. I think this could definitely be one of those games where we see Gray really pitch well. 25 to 30 DraftKings points is possible for him. And at $6,700, I feel like that is good value. Pairing him with Max Scherzer still leaves you $3,750 remaining per player, which can obviously be worked around. So I'm kind of looking to build around Gray and Scherzer today. If you want to go Scherzer and Arrieta, Scherzer and Weaver, Scherzer and Taillon, or even like Verlander, Taillon, Verlander, Weaver, whatever combo, I think all those cheap SP2s make sense. Arrieta, Weaver, Taillon, all 3 guys I do like. Obviously Gray I like as well. But that's really it for pitcher for me today. Those are kind of the pitchers I'm looking to go to on this slate. Now if we want to talk about hitters, some bats we want to target. Since we played Scherzer and Gray and we're only left with 37.50 remaining per player, we are definitely going to need some value. So the first value play I like is a second base, Jason Kipnis, 3,600 versus Jason Hamill. I like this matchup for Jason Kipnis, and I love this spot for the Indians. Jason Hamill, I don't think he's a very good pitcher. The Indians getting some good respect from Vegas here. They have a 5.3 implied run total on this slate. Definitely want some exposure to the Indians. There are obviously some expensive bats in this lineup with Lindor and Ramirez both being over 5K. But you got some value here with Jason Kipnis at 3,600. Yonder Alonso, a guy with a lot of power. Hamill definitely gives up home runs to lefties. I do like Yonder Alonso. Looking for a cheap first baseman. He is only 3,700. Got some value from the Indians. I think they're a great stack, and Jason Kipnis at 3,600 I feel like is a great second base value play. Then my next option, going to shortstop, getting some more value here. Love the Mariners as a stack, so Gene Segura, good value play at shortstop, I feel like. 3,800 in a matchup with Matt Boyd. Don't think Matt Boyd is a very good pitcher. He definitely gives it up to righties. So some of these righties from the Mariners, Segura, Cruz, Haniger, Ryan Healy, Zunino if you're looking for a cheap catcher. These are guys I'm definitely targeting today, especially because a lot of these guys have some good power. Cruz, Haniger, and Healy, three guys with a ton of power. Segura doesn't have as much power, but definitely a guy that will put the ball in play, has the opportunity to steal bases. If he gets on base, the guy will run, definitely has upside. Really like Gene Segura here, 3,800, been hitting the ball well lately. I believe he's having a pretty solid game Wednesday night. I think he had a solid game last night. Just been really hitting the ball well. So Gene Segura as a value option, think he makes a lot of sense at shortstop if you are looking to go cheap at that position. Then my final play in the outfield, more exposure to the Mariners. Love Nelson Cruz, 4,200 versus a lefty. Always like to consider Nelly Cruz when he's facing a lefty, especially a bad lefty like Matt Boyd that gives up power to righties. Cruz has always been a guy that's crushed lefties, hit lefties for power. He's only 4,200, which is pretty cheap in my opinion. Mariners getting some good respect from Vegas here. They have a 5 implied run total for today. They are definitely one of my favorite stacks on this slate, especially when you include their price tags. A lot of these guys are cheap. A lot of these guys give you some good value at hitter. Nelly Cruz being one of them. 4,200, kind of just feel like that's too cheap when he's facing a bad lefty. So I like him in the outfield. You're looking for sort of a mid-range play there. I think him, Segura, Haniger, Brian Healy, I think all those guys make a lot of sense today. But yeah, guys, these are my 5 plays for today. Max Scherzer, Sonny Gray, Jason Kipnis, Gene Segura, and Nelson Cruz. Now if we want to talk about some stacks on this slate, the 2 stacks that I really like, at least especially when you factor in some of their prices, are the Mariners and the Indians. The Mariners, the righties here, I'm really intrigued by. Segura, Cruz, Haniger, Healy, Zunino, kind of the guys I'm targeting. From the Indians, obviously Kipnis, or obviously Lindor, Ramirez are good plays, but the value here with Kipnis and Yonder Alonso, if Tyler Naquin's in the lineup at 3,100, you've got some good value from the Indians, so they're another team I'm going to. Obviously Coors Field you want some exposure to, especially I feel like the Rockies are going to be some good plays here. You got some value in that lineup with Cargo at 3,900 versus Woodruff versus a righty. Gerardo Parra 3,500 versus a righty. You obviously want to look to Coors, but I don't think Coors I'm really loading up on today, especially with all the stud pitchers on the slate. It's going to be hard to play Coors bats with your stud pitchers. So that's kind of why I'm looking to those 2 value teams. And I think that's really it for stacks, especially if we factor in price tags. There obviously are teams that have some high implied run totals for today, but they're going to be hard to stack up with our expensive pitchers. If you're paying up for pitcher, I think you're looking to the Mariners, especially because of their prices, and some of these Indians, picking out the cheap ones, you could go to as well. But now if we want to look at BVP plays for today, some of the BVP plays that have a pretty high sample, there are a lot on the slate, so I'm just kind of going to cover the ones with like at least a 20 at-bat sample. Adrian Gonzalez, 7 for 24 with 2 home runs versus Jake Arrieta. Josh Donaldson, 7 for 27 with 4 home runs versus Chris Sale. Kendrys Morales, 10 for 34 with 3 home runs versus Chris Sale. Edwin Encarnacion is 9 for 35 with 5 home runs versus Jason Hamill. Lindor also hit Hamill well, 7 for 21 with the home run. Evan Gattis, 9 for 29 with 3 home runs versus Cole Hamels. Brian McCann, crazy sample size here, 20 for 71, 282 average, 3 home runs versus Cole Hamels. And then I would say the last one, Zach Cozart, only batting 179 versus Lance Lynn, but does have 3 home runs. and 39 plate appearances. And then PVB, the pitchers that have done well in their matchups, to no surprise, we got a lot of the studs here. Chris Sale, done really well against the Blue Jays. They've struggled to hit him, just hitting him for a 213 average. Justin Verlander, done really well against the Rangers. They're only hitting him for a 205 average. And Max Scherzer versus the Diamondbacks are only hitting Scherzer for a 200 average and 110 plate appearances. And some of the other pitchers, Aaron Sanchez, done well against the Red Sox. They're hitting him for a 187 average. Trevor Bauer has done well against the Royals in the past. They're only hitting him for a 213 average through 136 at bats. And then lastly, Lance Lynn in 93 at bats. The Angels are only hitting him for a 194 average. And pitchers that have done poorly in their matchups that have struggled, Kevin Gausman has struggled against the Rays in the past. The Rays have hit him for a 294 average. And Dane Straley has struggled against the Braves. The Braves have hit Straley for a 309 average and 68 at-bats. But yeah, guys, I think that's it for PVB and BVP on this slate, and I think that's it for this video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. Hopefully it helped you. If you did enjoy, just click that like button down below. Lets me know you enjoyed the vid. Haven't subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe as well. And if you do have any questions, always feel free to hit me up on Twitter at the DFS_GOAT, or you can just leave a comment down below, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And good luck tonight on this slate, guys. Peace.